The Invincible universe is brutal. It's a world where strength is everything and power is what comes out on top. But what happens when a man who inspires hope arrives? Here's what would happen if Superman existed in the Invincible universe. First off, we need to set the standard. In the mainline DC universe, Superman was born Kal-El of the House of El on planet Krypton. When Krypton's High Council ignored the warnings of Jor-El, Kal's father, Jor-El and his wife Laura Lorvan sent their little baby across the stars to escape Krypton's destruction. Landing on Earth, Kal would be taken by the farmers, Jonathan and Martha Kent, rechristened as Clark Kent, and would grow up to be Superman, the man of tomorrow, the defender of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Superman is DC's gold standard of hero. He has gone through stints as a member of the Justice Society in the Golden Age and the Justice League in every future age of comics. Most of DC's crisis events feature a Superman front and center. He has powers that make him a god amongst men, such as his strength, speed, flight, heat vision, frost breath, and more. Does Superman grasp his iconic status in the world of Invincible? Well, the answer would surprise you. To kick things off, his origin would be fairly simple to convert into the alien-rich universe of Invincible. A planet Krypton could exist in this new situation, seeing a baby Kal-El born into the Image Comics universe. There could still be a scenario that sees him blasted away from his dying homeworld and questing to Earth. That, in a sense, can pan out exactly as we know, but his landing in future would be far more interesting. In a world with a GDA, Superman's landing would be harder not to notice. Assuming he still lands in Kansas farmland, the farmers who find him, we'll still call Jonathan and Martha, would have to get baby Kal before agents or even the Immortal had the chance to. The Invincible universe is teeming with government watch and observation, so the path to a Superman would have to see Kal's ship and Kal himself escaping every government agent and government employed hero snooping about. Having to get into the arms of his loving parents in a world teeming with suits and everyone else would be hard enough. But for the sake of this, let's say little baby Kal managed to find his new home without issue. From there on though, a young Clark Kent could very easily find himself still growing up a humble man as a byproduct of his environment, learning to be the all-around kind-hearted person that his DC counterpart is. The new fond Clark Kent could very easily find himself in the realm of a reporter job while becoming Superman and entering the world of heroes all the same. His entire cast of characters would inevitably have to change, considering we aren't talking about Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen in the DC universe. So, however, it would work out. We'd have a Superman in a new environment when it's all said and done. With the stage set and the path clear, Superman enters Invincible fairly easily. So how does everything change when the Man of Tomorrow comes around? In terms of a timeline, DC is known for its scaling timeline. So if we apply the current timeline to the world of Invincible, we would find Superman entering the fray within the same stretch of time as Omni-Man. Their rise would parallel, as both parties have a very similar set of powers. Omni-Man would be aware of Superman's status as the last son of Krypton, while a possible Fortress of Solitude could alert Superman to the fact that Omni-Man isn't exactly who he seems to say he is. In this case, Superman would very truly be the last son of Krypton, as the odds of a Supergirl or a General Zod in this universe that doesn't possess a Phantom Zone, or any sort of workaround leaves Superman truly flying solo. There would be a very evident antagonist relationship between Superman and Cecil Stedman of the GDA, considering Superman's less than enthusiastic relationship in the mainline stories with the government. More likely than not, he would feel more comfortable working solo and only sometimes working with and partnering with Cecil's Guardians, with the Immortal, the heroes that are more inclined to work under government. There is an odds-on chance Superman could make a play to form his own group in this world, but with everyone tending to lean toward government jobs, there would be a lot of solo play for Clark Kent. He would also continue to have a passing conflict with Omni-Man, as Superman's intuitions and awareness would mean he knows Omni-Man is not entirely who he claims to be. There's always the chance whatever knowledge he has of Krypton could point toward them having possible conflicts with the Viltrumite Empire. It's not out of the question. A superhero though needs some supervillains. So when playing ball just in general, Superman would go on to become familiar with a lot of the commonplace Invincible villains. Whether that be fighting the Mauler twins and whatever machine they've cooked up, or fighting someone like Mr. Liu and seeing Superman do battle with a kaiju, it isn't out of the question to think Superman could make quick work of all of these guys. As well, it's of note that Superman's rogues party would be changed up to fit the universe. Villains would more likely than not rise up in this universe as a response to Superman. There could be the likes of a Brainiac, sure, but there's also the Lizard League, and just those simple threats that would see the Man of Tomorrow focus his efforts on stopping them and keeping everyone safe. Consistent Invincible threats like D.A. Sinclair and the like would be what makes up most of Superman's usual troubles. Though that's most of the broad strokes, let me take a crack at Superman's role in the main Invincible story. Jumping into the realm of Invincible's comic storylines, we would find Superman right in the swing of things with everyone else. Someone just as strong, maybe even stronger than Omni-Man, would be the cause of a large shift in Nolan's storyline of betrayal. Seeing as he would make his play in confidence to kill the Guardians of the Globe, we would see an immediate response from the Man of Tomorrow. He would more likely than not hear the deaths of fellow superheroes, trying to make his way for the rescue, bringing him into a swift confrontation with Omni-Man. Considering he would have expected something was off with him, a fight would be something he's expected. The battle between Omni-Man and Superman would be hotly contested. I've talked about it before, but try as he might, Omni-Man is paper compared to the Man of Steel, and he would be taken down. There's no doubt that Nolan is a durable and formidable threat with his level of strength, but in the grand scheme, Superman is stronger and his powers far exceed what Nolan can offer. Superman isn't all strength, with his heat vision, frost breath, X-ray vision, and other things playing a role as well. If Superman were Invincible, the Omni-Man betrayal would not be as drawn out and Nolan wouldn't get to hide for a while like he had done prior. He wouldn't be able to play things off because Superman would be more than fast enough to catch him. There would be no legendary "we need to talk" speech because Nolan would simply be captured, locked up in a similar fashion to that of his reboot counterpart, and left to stew about the things he has done. Superman's presence would end the early arc and leave him to lead the future of heroes without a traitor in the midst. Superman's presence as the uncontested strongest hero on the planet and the focal point of everything would mean the events that usually followed up Nolan's betrayal would see him leading the charge. Angstrom Levy and his anger with Invincible would see Superman play a heavy hand as well. The Man of Tomorrow and his exceptional speed would not find it too difficult to capture Levy before he could portal away, or cause any real harm. The multiversal threat Angstrom presents would be pushed away, and the ramifications of that are very clear. Superman being present in the Invincible universe to stop Levy means there would be no Invincible War. We wouldn't see the deaths of several heroes as Levy wouldn't have his chance to release multiple evil variants of Invincible onto the universe. That part of the story just never comes to fruition. From there, it becomes pretty evident that a lot of things would start to get squared away with someone like Superman in the Invincible universe. Case in point, timeline dictates the very next arc being the arrival of Conquest would also go the way of the doo-doo in the sense there wouldn't be nearly as much fighting. There wouldn't be nearly as much confrontation, all because of the presence of Superman. Simply put, all because of what Superman can do in this world. Let me explain. In the normal storyline when Conquest comes for Mark, it's not like anyone else can entirely lay a hand on the oldest living Viltrumite. Mark is such a powerful being who goes head to head with him, but if Superman were to be in the mix, that changes. A fight between Superman and Conquest goes down a lot smoother and sees him handily defeating Conquest, as Superman with his solar enhanced cells can outmatch the Viltrumite in strength and speed, as well having a much broader amount of powers considering Viltrumites don't have things like heat vision or any reasonable way to defend themselves against it. Though Conquest can be quite reckless, so I'd imagine a big goal would be for Superman to move him away from civilians to avoid the casualties. Superman isn't supposed to be notorious for throwing down in cities after all. As Superman's presence in the Invincible universe continues, we would eventually see some form of redemption for Omni-Man who would be remorseful for his actions, meaning Earth would house two powerful Viltrumites and the last son of Krypton. That would put him at a steep advantage for the eventual next story Superman would play a role in, the Viltrumite War. Moving forward, let's assume at some point Nolan had his version of his redemption arc within the realm of the story. An Invincible Earth with Superman would see Alan the Alien coming directly to him with some help, because why wouldn't he? Recruiting him in the Earth-based Viltrums would be his main goal, but Superman would come to participate in this war. The Viltrumite War that saw the combining forces of Omni-Man, Invincible, and Thetis, the leader of the coalition of planets, would now have the chance to include Superman into that bolstered lineup. The attack on planet Viltrum would go a lot simpler, and when it's established Viltrum is an empty planet, with the majority of the Viltrumites dead, there's no real reason Superman would hesitate blowing up the planet along with the others. If it's a dead planet, the Man of Tomorrow wouldn't hold anything back in trying to do what he could to save everyone, leaving that part of the story to pan out in a very similar fashion. A direct interference earlier on by Superman stopping Omni-Man and capturing him on Earth would mean Oliver Grayson doesn't exist, but that'd be the largest change. They'd all stop the war. If Superman were aware enough, he would possibly even save Thetis from his fate, keeping the coalition leader alive and in charge. There wouldn't be a real opportunity for things to play out how they did within the show and comic book. Superman would be present for a fight with Grand Regent Thrag that would see Viltrum's ruler and the last son of Krypton come to blows. Thrag being the strongest Viltrumite at that time would mean a tough and challenging brawl for the Man of Tomorrow, but Superman's superior strength and power set indicates that he'd be nothing but the winner in the long run. Toppling Thrag and taking him off the playing field a lot earlier, not leaving room for some negotiation that leaves Viltrums hanging out on Earth. A present and capable Superman stopping and capturing Grand Regent Thrag leaves Nolan to go off and assume the top of the mountain as Viltrum's ruler. As well, someone like Superman could keep Thrag in check, leaving a massive deviation from here in terms of what the story of Invincible can be, because once Thrag is captured early, everything starts to change. Superman in Invincible is a presence that would stop Nolan's rampage early and keep him off that wonderful bug planet. He would stop Angstrom in the Invincible War, bringing whole arcs to a swift end. He would even stop Conquest's path of carnage and take Thrag off the board early. That is already a significant change in the timeline. By this point, Superman's presence in the universe leaves Oliver to never have been born, and a lot of the Earthling and Viltrum hybrid kids do not exist either. There is, however, a storyline that would still happen and even shift and conform around our hero. Superman himself and the way he's able to scour the Earth Earth so quickly and handle many issues would leave some to fear a situation where Superman were to go bad. Similar to all of this issues Batman and others have had in the mainline DC universe, and of course any alternate universe these days. This sort of stuff is inevitable, leading people to take action. It's not out of the question that a Cecil or a Mahler twins would try to figure out Superman's weaknesses. The biggest example I can think of is Robot seeing all the stuff Superman could do would probably strike an immense fear in him, prompting someone like Robot, who is paranoid beyond belief, to try and take over the world as he has done in a previous story. He could in many ways approach this in the similar manner he did with Viltrumites, trying to take advantage of Superman's sensitive hearing. There is also the obvious. If Krypton were to exist, that could mean Kryptonite exists as well. The truest and deadliest weakness of Superman is something tons of villains in any other story tried to take advantage of. There would most likely be an evolved form of Robot's arc that sees him combining Kryptonite with his robot suits. Rudy in this instance would become someone much more akin to Metallo in how he operates, proving to be an effective and deadly threat if he were to mass produce all the robot suits. That being said, Superman's goodwill and perhaps mutual understanding with the Viltrumites means Robot's actions would go down as a loss a lot quicker, considering he would have stopped Nolan just after Nolan killed the Guardians, but just before any civilians could really meet a grim end. There would have been enough time for some character growth and that enemies to friends sort of arc. I think of their possible relationship as something like a Goku and Vegeta, for lack of a better comparison. Robot would do his best to lay siege to the Man of Tomorrow, but he wouldn't walk out the winner, though it wouldn't be for a lack of trying, as if this world figured out about Kryptonite, it's evident someone would be bound to try to put it to use, and that someone is more than likely Robot. Though if they can make it past Robot's attack, Superman by everyone's side would be more than likely to take everyone past all these dangers. In DC, he's meant to be the inspiration end-all be-all superhero, and if he knocks down arc villain after arc villain, he'd be that presence in Invincible. A fun thing to point out though is in the midst of all of this, Superman's presence on Earth could be something that travels as word from planet to planet of the mighty Kryptonian. His prowess as a warrior would more than likely set up a confrontation between him and Battle Beast. This fight would go on for long stints of time, as Battle Beast's bloodlust wouldn't be satiated so quickly, though eventually, like Thrag's several days battle, Superman would be the one to topple Battle Beast. The ever-moral Man of Steel wouldn't want to kill him per se, but he would win. It would just be a test of his stamina more than anything else. Past all the major story beats of Invincible would be later on. Invincible and Adam Eve would go on to live a fruitful life, as would Omni-Man, who would still be alive. All of this would be due to the fact that they'd have Superman to thank. Many stories depict Clark with a longer lifespan than others, leaving him alive as well in this future of Invincible. Superman's presence in the world would be a weight off of all of these heroes' shoulders, similar to what he has been for the DC heroes. Superman would shift everything into a much more positive universe for Mark Grayson and company, because that's just what Superman does. Did you enjoy this video? Well, click the video on screen to see more.